Ready.
Thank you. Next.
Your Honor, the next two survivors that will be speaking are going to come up together. They're friends. They are both being identified publicly, and so I'd like for Megan Ginter and Catherine Gordon to come up together, please. Megan is going to speak first. I have her photograph at the time or the age of the abuse on the screen, and I will present Catherine's, Kate, I know her by, when she speaks as well. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. It's lovely that you're both up here together as friends. If you want to stand closer to your friend, you may. It's up to you. All right. Could you please state and spell your name for the
Yes.
record?
It's Megan Ginter, Megan Ginter.
Thank you. You may proceed.
My name is Megan Ginter. I recently turned 18 years old and I'm currently a senior in high school in Columbus, Ohio. Beginning at age 10, I began to have intense pain in my right hip. My love for sports and anything active blossomed while I was young.
I'm sorry. I didn't understand you. Can you speak up just a little
Yeah.
bit and maybe slow down?
Let's just have you pull the microphone a little bit closer to you from the bottom. Well, yes, a little bit closer and raise it.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And just speak a little bit slower and louder. We're good. I know there's that cheerleader voice in you, and
Yeah.
that's what I need. Can you do that for me?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Much better. Thank you.
Do you want me to start over? Or-
No, it's, how about beginning at age 10, I began having intense pain in
Yep.
my...
Beginning at age 10, I began to have intense pain in my right hip. My love for sports and anything active blossomed while I was young. I participated in various sports, but especially loved gymnastics, track, and horseback riding. However, as time progressed and my pain became worse, I struggled to participate, gradually quitting almost everything I was involved in. It was difficult trying to be at peace with my circumstances, while my friends were able to do anything without limits while I fought to walk without a limp. Physically, I was in severe pain, and mentally, I was a broken mess. By the time I was 13, I had visited doctor after doctor, none of which could help me. My pain progressively got worse. Doctors attempted procedures hoping to cure my hip pain, but these tests were often in vain and caused even more damage. A failed MRI with injected contrast left me with paralyzed nerves in my leg, which to this day still affects me. I will never forget how the doctor lifted me up into his arms because I was unable to move. Not only were the tests and multiple misdiagnoses difficult to digest as a child, but the brutal honesty of doctors hurt. I was told by a doctor in Cincinnati to take up an instrument because you won't be walking in the future. I remember sobbing on the way home, believing my life would never be normal. I wanted to give up in the worst way and admit defeat, to take the easy route and try to survive enduring the pain. Following this, my mom reached out to the OSU gymnastics coach asking for recommendations for doctors, assuming the hip pain came from an injury involving the competitive gymnastics I had participated in for more than 6 years. She was given Dr. Nassar's name. In the early spring of 2013, I went to Lansing, Michigan to seek treatment from Dr. Nassar twice. At the age of 13, Dr. Nassar touched me sexually while my mom was in the room taking notes. He had me angled away so that she wasn't able to see what he was doing to me. The initial appointment was very long and he repeatedly abused me. He also abused me on the next visit. I do not want to describe the abuse in detail. I do not want these images on paper nor replayed in my mind, although I have night terrors that all too easily bring me back to my appointments. What hurts the most about this whole situation is how Dr. Nassar knew of my emotional vulnerability and took advantage of me. I was only a child. I eventually saw Dr. Ira Zaltz in Detroit, Michigan. After 5 long years of seeing new doctors, Dr. Zaltz correctly diagnosed my hip pain as hip dysplasia. In December 2014, at the age of 15, I underwent a major hip surgery. My childhood prior to the abuse encaptures a long journey of physical pain intertwined with emotional suffering, and the abuse only made things a million times worse. Following the abuse, I pulled away from my family. At only 13, I didn't quite understand what was happening, but I knew one thing for sure: I would never tell anybody. I was ashamed, both embarrassed and disgusted in myself rather than at Larry. At the time, I was in 7th grade. School became increasingly difficult after the abuse as my anxiety spiked along with my new constant need for perfection. I felt anxious around my male teachers. I felt out of control and took any opportunity to feel like I had composure and control in my own life. I fell into poor eating patterns, relying on physical starvation to find the control that I craved. I became severely depressed and was suicidal for a very long period of time. In the few years after the abuse, I pushed any thought of the abuse away, refusing to acknowledge what I had gone through. However, as time progressed, I wasn't able to continue to ignore what had happened. 3 months ago, I told my mom about what had happened at my appointments. The abuse infiltrated my thoughts on a daily basis, and I finally felt the need to tell somebody. I had just been to a psychiatrist who was puzzled about my recurring night terrors that were seemingly out of nowhere.
Can you slow down just a little bit?
Sorry.
I know you're a little nervous, and I appreciate you talking publicly.
Yeah.
Just a little slower. Thank you.
My mom blamed the episodes on the anti-anxiety medication I'd been taking long term. On the car ride home following my appointment, I quietly told my mom that I knew why I was having night terrors and that they weren't about murder as I'd previously told her and my doctor. Rather, they encaptured graphic details of the abuse I had endured. Before telling her who it was that had sexually abused me, she began questioning me about who the abuser was, rattling off names, including the name of relatives, neighbors, teachers, my dad. It was hard enough telling her who had abused me, but it was absolutely devastating telling her that she'd been in the room. Since telling my mom about the abuse, I have difficulties living presently, often resorting to an emotional numbness and depersonalization to get through each day. I am still fighting with my emotions, learning how to become more vulnerable once again. I feel that by sharing my story today, I am proving that I am still capable of being vulnerable. I suffer from PTSD and anxiety. I experience flashbacks. I have vivid night terrors most nights where I wake up paralyzed with panic. I still struggle with perfectionism. The abuse may have happened nearly 5 years ago, but I am still affected every single day. I now attend weekly therapy sessions. I am often fearful of men and often struggle to withhold panic during conversation and touch with any male, especially doctors. I recently struggled when I had a male physical therapist and was unable to overcome the discomfort associated with his touch, although I knew I was safe. I do not allow myself to get close enough to anybody to have anything but a superficial relationship, and I cannot bear the thought of intimacy at this point. I cannot imagine getting over the abuse, but I'm hoping to progress in therapy with support and on my own so that I am able to live comfortably, something I've not been able to do in a very long time. I make myself clear in saying that I have been sexually abused because I am no longer ashamed of my past. I hope that I'm able to contribute to ending the stigma of sexual abuse within our society. I'm expressing my vulnerability as to encourage those who feel insecure about any issue they feel they must hide because of how our culture has made them feel. I have been sexually abused by Larry Nassar, but I will not let what happened define me. I will persist until I get the closure that I need and learn to view the abuse as something that has given me strength, rather than something that has defeated me. I kept silent for years because I was so ashamed, allowing you to hold the power over me. I am no longer the naive and humiliated child I once was. I am a brave young woman. Your actions have ultimately created a large army of strong, courageous, powerful young women who will stand together and fight against you until we have found the justice that we deserve. I am done being ashamed of something that was out of my control. Today marks the beginning of a new era where I embrace an authentic version of myself, flaws and all.
Ma'am, was that the end? All right, do you need a minute? All right. Thank you for coming here and openly talking. You are not alone, nor is your mother. Yours is a story we have heard now dozens of times over. You have nothing and never had anything to be ashamed about. Defendant is the one who needs to be ashamed. I don't know if he feels ashamed or not. We're never going to know. I don't know if he feels at all. I know you feel. And what you should feel is proud and brave and strong and tall and so powerful. He will never do anything like that to anyone again. You're safe here now. Your abuser cannot ever reach you. And I will take into consideration your wonderful statement. You said you were vulnerable. Everyone's vulnerable. It's what you do with those vulnerabilities. And what you have done is made yourself powerful and full of armor, but not armor where you have to hide. Your intelligence puts you amongst a very large army of survivors who will keep talking and protecting others, and that's a huge role and responsibility that you've owned, and you're up to the challenge. And I so thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Could you please state and spell your name for the record?
Catherine Gordon, Kathernegordon.
What would you like us to know?
Thank you for providing me with the opportunity to speak today. When I decided to write an impact statement, I truly didn't know where to begin. Words can hardly describe the turmoil that results from a situation such as this. However, I was reminded of something that I wrote a little over a month ago, after being struck by a friend's poem regarding sexual assault. Instead of writing a new statement, I decided to bring what I had written in response to her words. Growing up, sexual assault was a vague and distant topic. Young girls are taught to believe that it's easily recognizable. It's the rough man yelling profanities. It's the crestfallen, dejected girl lying huddled in the corner of a dark room. At least that's what it's like in movies, TV shows, the news. It's never the celebrity of a doctor that you've been going to for years. It's never the man that you trust and frankly pity. It's never a revolutionary new medical procedure that might feel funny. At least that's not what we're taught to believe. You never see a 13-year-old girl lying on an examination table, her mother seated in a chair beside her. You never see that same young girl telling lies through clenched teeth, insisting that the technique worked just to stop his prying. You never see the girl who knew it wasn't right, but didn't necessarily know if it was wrong. It's never a girl crying in the passenger seat of the car, her mother insisting that it was just an awkward procedure, it's over now. But in reality, it never is. It's that unidentified weight on your chest, a phrase rattling in its cage, but never escaping. It doesn't escape, not for 4 years. An accusation in the news is a key in the lock, but the hinges still stiff with incognizance. It's distant until it's not. It's distant until you realize that each girl in the news is a broken mirror, and you're left staring into each and every one, puzzling together the fragments of your own familiar face. Then suddenly it's there. It's the door of that rattling cage blown open, and a million tiny creatures of a phrase clawing at your shell. It's sexual assault. It's sitting in the school library, missing out on memories of your last year of high school, just so you can check in on your mother, who blames herself for not recognizing the truth. It's losing touch with friends, interests, and hobbies, a slowly loosening grip on the things that had once been so reliable. Every story was a new layer of reality, a mess of truth scrawled in dark ink on pages of a story that I had previously viewed with innocent oblivion. It was manipulation, a scheme, a plot to gain trust, and it worked. It worked on me, and it worked on countless others. Now, a man will sit in prison with the ghosts of these girls' innocence walking through the walls of his cell. He's taking us with him, our childhoods, our lives, our abilities to trust, and with him they'll stay. We don't need these aspects of ourselves anymore. Let them live their miserable lives with this man. What we need is change. We need understanding. We need compassion, not for ourselves, but for our daughters. For our daughters' daughters, because even if I can never trust again, maybe they will. Thank you.
That was outstanding, ma'am. What you've done, you are the voice of change, but not just for the future. Now. Now things are going to change because of your courage, and Megan's courage, and everybody's courage. And of course, Rachel being that first one to ring the bell. You all have now rung the bell. The bells will not stop ringing for change. Your voices, loud and strong, in this courtroom are going to ring for a very long time. You are not broken. You are strong. I see a whole mirror with a whole person, a whole body, an intelligent mind. I hope that you have now in this courtroom let go of that heavy weight on your chest. That you'll leave it here with defendant. That both of you can walk here light-footed, walk out of this courtroom light-footed, and do great things in the world, because I know that's where you're headed. Defendant started on a path to do great things, ended doing harmful things, and he will be placed behind bars for the rest of his life. I'll make my decision on sentencing, but I appreciate your input in my decision, both of you. I'm very honored that both of you stand here together in front of me and proud of each of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge, I want to make sure before we introduce the next speaker and do logistics. Thank you, Your Honor. The next statement will be read by our victim advocate, Rebecca Snyder. She is reading the statement of another survivor who has gone from being anonymous to being publicly identified. This is the statement of Caitlin Hall, who is present in the courtroom.
Thank you. Could you please spell her name?
Katlynne, Hall, Hall.
Thank you. Thank you for reading her statement, and thanks to her, wherever she is, that she is present. Thank you.
I am 18 years old, and I am a victim of sexual abuse. Actually, I'm a survivor because I refuse to let him continue to make me his victim. I had been his patient since I was 8 years old, but the abuse, quote, didn't start until I was 13 years old. 13 years old. He continued to sexually abuse me for 3.5 years. He explained, quote, almost everything he was doing in the treatments, pressure points and realignments, but at that age, I had no idea that the penetration was not a valid treatment. I was too embarrassed to speak to my parents or friends or coaches about what he was doing. I've gone through counseling, was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and I am still learning how his abuse has affected me. I continue to struggle with flashbacks, sleeplessness, trust issues, and difficulties with concentration. I also continue to take antidepressants daily to help manage these symptoms. My parents want me to begin counseling again, but I don't think I'm ready to talk about the abuse yet. Maybe never. How do you even begin that conversation with anyone? You can't begin to imagine how hard it was to even tell my parents what had happened and then watch them cry and struggle with their own guilt. Through this process, I lost the one thing I truly loved and excelled at, gymnastics. Instead of continuing treatments that were never intended to help me heal, I decided to retire from gymnastics. I could not stand the thought of walking into his office one more time or having him place his hands on me and in me one more time. So I walked away. It was a decision no 16-year-old should ever have to make. I have so many questions and what ifs. What if I had asked to go to another doctor? Would I have been able to fulfill my dream of competing as a college gymnast? What if I had told someone what he was doing? How many other little girls would have been saved from his abuses? What if someone would have taken the very first allegation seriously? Would I have been abused? Your Honor, I respectfully request that he be given the maximum sentence so he can never harm another child like me again. It may take a lifetime to recover, and I hope that if and when that time comes, he is still behind bars, exactly where he belongs. Caitlin Hall.
Thank you. Caitlin, I take you and your words and what happened very seriously. So does law enforcement. So do the people. I think everybody here takes it very, very seriously. You're not alone. You have your sister survivors. I want you to know your words have helped others to not be embarrassed. You should not be embarrassed. You didn't do anything wrong. Defendant did. And what you are doing in your statement is making it very clear to others who haven't been able to speak out for the same reason, embarrassment. You're sending the message, don't be embarrassed, cry out, there's help. And those who do this should be punished, should be sentenced, should have to hear the words of the people they abused. I will consider your words in my sentencing, and I thank you for being brave enough to speak out. Next.
Judge, the next survivor to speak is Anya Gillengarten, and she's accompanied by her parents and her boyfriend. And I've also displayed a photograph of Anya at the age of the abuse.
Thank you. You may all come closer next to her. You're here to support her. And you're so tiny now. Can I just ask you before you speak to just move that? Yes, very good. Looks like you've done that before. All right. Could you please state and spell your name for the record, and thank you so much for being here.
My name is Anya, A-N-Y-A, Gillengerten, Gillengerten.
What would you like me to know?
Sorry, I'm kind of a wreck. Until now, I haven't told anybody about this part of my life. Not my parents, my friends, or even counselors. The shame that began 16 years ago has remained a deep, dark secret inside of me. But I would like to tell you, my name is Anya. I'm not a number. And I currently work for Michigan State University, and I struggled coming and bringing forth my statement because I didn't want to lose my job. But through the support of many, including all of the wonderful women involved in this case, and for the sake of all the little girls in leotards, I have to report this. I was a gymnast at Mason High School. I was in the all-time top 10 for beam. At the age of 16, I was in a minor car accident in the winter. I went through the fence and I hit a tree. Even though my muscles were sore, I competed the next day. As many of you know, gymnasts always push through the pain. I injured my spine at that meet, and later on I learned I had fractured my bottom 3 discs and suffered nerve damage. I actually had to go and get nerves cauterized in my spine. My parents took me to several doctor's appointments, but my pain remained. We had tried acupuncture, massage, chiropractic, reflexology, and the list goes on. We continued to look for other options. Then my pediatrician referred me to Dr. Larry Nassar, the Dr. Larry Nassar, the best gymnastics doctor in the United States, in the world, who was finally going to help me. We were so honored that this renowned gymnastics coach was willing to take me under his care. It was like our prayers had finally been answered. This amazing doctor was willing to take time out of his busy schedule to help me. It was like a dream came true. He had such high hopes. In fact, he cared so much he was willing to go above and beyond and squish me in between patients right before a big gymnastics meet. Later, he was willing to stay late after hours. He began fitting me in at the end of the day, after my gymnastic practices, even after all the rest of the staff at the medical center had left. By doing this, I didn't even have to sign in or pay a copay. He was doing us a favor and not charging us, and that's what he told me. On top of that, on the days he was at the whole high school as their trainer, we could stop by and he could make some adjustments. Remember, he'd say, "Oh, bring your friend Danielle. She's also a patient of mine, and I can treat you both after school." And everyone here on Tuesday met Danielle. Dr. Danielle Moore, the one who convinced me to report you. Larry gave us gifts, backpacks, shirts, a water bottle. He dumbed down his medical terms and was really goofy with us to try to get us to trust him, and we did. The one thing that always sticks in my mind was at the end of every appointment, he would give me this really long hug and assure me that everything was going to be okay and that we were on the right track, and I always felt sick about that hug. Now I'd like to share the life that Larry has created for me. He began by molesting me. The details not any different than you have heard by all of the other victims. I have lost all trust in the medical field. I've not had a primary care doctor since my pediatrician, and I'm now 33. Since my spine injury that you promised to fix, I have spent about 90% of my life with debilitating migraines. I lose vision and I vomit and it goes on for days. I can't describe the pain. 3 years ago I moved in with my boyfriend, and I have missed countless hours I could spend with his children that I love as my own because I'm locked in a dark room and I can't tolerate any noise. I usually squint because light intensifies migraines to nearly unbearable heights. And people keep telling me that I need to smile, as apparently I have an unintentional scowl on my face. My job requires great customer service, and it's hard to fake that smile when I'm in so much pain. I have gone to the ER a few times when there are no other options, but I was dragged there kicking and screaming. My anxiety in the waiting room is through the roof, and I have panic attacks. The anxiety that has overtaken my life, the closer it came to the trial, the worse my anxiety got, the more panic attacks I suffered. There's days that I can't even drive a car because my anxiety level is so high that I'm fearful I might panic and lock up in fear and be unable to keep control of the car. The worst part is that I lost out on a relationship with my brother Jake. I was too scared to tell anybody, but one day he came to my room and he saw me bawling my eyes out and he asked me what was wrong. And all I could tell him was that Larry Nassar touched me inappropriately. I couldn't go into details, and he was the only person I told until I was 31. He was my big brother and I looked up to him and I needed him to take care of me. Although he tried his very best, I couldn't open up. I remember the day that was the turning point in our relationship. We were at church, and after the service, he came up behind me and poked me on my side, just to tickle me a little bit, and I spun around and I slapped him so hard, right across the face. And I ran off crying, and I couldn't handle a male touching me, even though it was just my brother. Sorry. And I didn't understand at the time, but I put all that resentment with the whole entire situation on my brother, and I ruined our relationship. My parents didn't know what was wrong. I was just acting like an insanely emotional teenage girl with anger issues. I was taught to love God with all my heart, but I thought the things that he did to me would send me to hell. I couldn't tell my parents what he did because I didn't want them to know that I had already failed them and God and would spend eternity in hell. All of this not my choice. And as an adult, I know that sounds silly, but I grew up extremely sheltered. I had never kissed a boy at that point. I had never seen a gynecologist. I hadn't even taken sex education at school because my parents didn't feel that teaching of safe sex was appropriate. I had no idea what was supposed to be going on in a doctor's appointment, but I trusted you. From my child's point of view, what kind of a God allows a monster to molest a child? And since there were no other options, and believe me, I prayed like no one could pray, I had to return again and again, countless times, until I was ultimately broken. My prayers were not answered, and my dream had turned into a nightmare. In high school, I started cutting. That was my way of turning emotional pain into physical pain, hoping for any kind of relief. My family had to learn to readjust how they approached every single situation around me without knowing what was actually wrong. And most of my teen years were spent feeling I was a failure and an embarrassment to my family. I developed an eating disorder, and I weighed under 70 pounds when I graduated high school. It was a really, really confusing time for everyone since I wasn't able to talk about it. My mom asked me over and over again what happened, and all I could describe was that I was hurting, and she just thought I meant my back. My family has suffered the most. I lashed out at all of the ones that I loved because I knew they wouldn't leave me. I was a happy, fun-loving, bubbly little girl turned into a depressed, bitter mess of a person. Larry stole my childhood, my innocence, my virginity, and my self-worth. Somewhere along the way, I completely lost myself. Through all the depression and pain, I hated myself. I still do. I was in a downward spiral of self-punishment and destruction. I became introverted and isolated. I cut ties with pretty much all of my friends, and I just disappeared, no explanation. And at one point, I refused to leave my house for over a month. I found working late-night jobs were the best for me because I didn't have to have interaction with a lot of people. Eventually, I took up drinking. If I could get drunk enough, I could pass out and I wouldn't feel the pain, mental or physical. But that eventually was not enough, and I attempted suicide in college. I slashed my wrists, and I was rushed to the hospital by an ambulance. Why couldn't I get a handle on the things that controlled my every waking hour? I didn't know how to talk about it. I couldn't make the pain and the fear go away. I ended up in a very abusive and dangerous marriage, and it was absolutely terrible. I must have done something terribly wrong to deserve this. I suffered for 16 years with the constant back pain, and now I have sciatic nerve pain, which is making it really hard to walk. But this has been the hardest year of my entire life. I've not had a good night's sleep since his name was first shown up in the news. This thing I thought I had buried was resurfaced. I remember being at work, and I was checking my work email, and a picture of Larry popped up on my screen with a note from President Simon. I went cold for a second, and then a rush of heat came over my body, and I just started sweating, and I almost threw up right there at my desk at work. I suddenly felt like everybody knew my secret. I felt like the university found out about me, and they were notifying me personally. I was terrified. Then I spent hours at the police station hashing over the little details that I spent 16 years trying to forget. For an entire year, I tried to stay off the internet because every 10 minutes something else popped up in the news. I couldn't even get on Facebook without seeing his face plastered everywhere. Sometimes I'd fall apart at work, the gas station, a grocery store, the county fair, and the emergency room, and countless other places. It's been a horrible journey, and I'm glad it's almost over. Larry, my life with you is over. Raising children with Bill, I see how my behavior has affected the children in my new family. I decided I have to take on the demon. So just this past December, I'm going to toot my own horn, I started seeing a female chiropractor. And this month, I went by myself with no support person at all. I have obtained a female primary care doctor, and I'm on medicine to help with my depression. And this would not be possible if the courageous group of people hadn't come forward to end this battle and win this fight. I can't thank my family enough for being here for me. I want my parents to know that I never thought it was their fault. I never once blamed them, and I was angry and upset, and I may have lashed out, but never once thought it was their fault. So please know through this that we have become a stronger family. I have many scars to remind me every day that I'm a fighter, that I'm supposed to be here, and that I matter. But most importantly, I've learned it wasn't me. It was not me, and I can say that knowing it was not me. And to hear all of these other women telling your story gives me hope. Another part that does help give me any sort of sleep through this entire thing is knowing that our 8-year-old daughter will never see you. She will never meet a terrible monster like you. And so not to just my family, but to all the support people in our lives, thank you for not giving up on us. Thank you for taking our pain onto your shoulders. And thank you, Your Honor, for letting us have a voice to let the world know and learn from this situation. And in closing, Your Honor, I would just like to ask that Mr. Larry Nassar receives the maximum sentence. Thank you.
Thank you. I have heard your very strong voice. And I'm so glad you're on this planet and not another one. Suicide, you know, is not the answer. Do not let him win. God let all of his army of angels, you being one of them, be on earth to reveal what defendant did. And you need to trust that. Your voice has been heard. You are a winner. You found your voice. I know you have a lot of therapy and recovery and all sorts of things to do, but I also see that today, this big weight on you has been lifted. Your face when you approached me was that sour face you talked about. You let go of that.
I feel like I can breathe.
You can breathe. Good for you, ma'am. You let that go, that bitterness. Leave it with him. And you are ready to become that fun, wonderful person that you missed. That little girl in you, the fun one, is still there. And I know you have to share that with your family and your children. Thank you for being that loud voice and for helping all other victims. You are a survivor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Next.
I'm quite nervous. I'm not good at public speaking.
Well, you will be now.
I don't have a picture.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm, I couldn't remember.
Your Honor,
And you're okay with being identified publicly? Okay.
this is Kaylee McDowell, and she is your next survivor, and she is okay with being identified publicly.
All right, thank you. When you came up here, you said you're not good at public speaking.
I'm shaking.
You're shaking, that's okay. I want you to take your time. You're going to have a very fast class in public speaking because you're really speaking to the world. I just need you to speak slowly. If you need to take a break or have a drink, go ahead. Just make sure you keep your voice up. Can you do that?
Of course.
All right.
All right.
I need you to state and spell your name for the record.
All right. I'm Kaylee McDowell, KayleeMcDowell.
Thank you. What would you like me to know?
All right. So I received a quote this morning from a friend of mine who is also, she's anonymous, so she wanted me to read this. And several other girls. You are not a victim for sharing your story. You are a survivor, setting the world on fire with your truth. And you never know who needs your light, warmth, and raging courage. Larry. Lair Bear. You were my dearest friend. From level 5 to level 10. I met you for a heel injury when I was young. There were all signs pointing to you from there and on. You were the one who was here to save me and my gymnastics. You and I had a very special bond from the beginning. You even said it yourself. You told me that I was special and going somewhere fast. I believed you because you believed in me, like everyone else. The abuse started at 12 years old and continued until I was in high school. You gave me your Olympic jacket with your name on the inside tag after one of our special appointments. You always had my side when John Geddert did not, which was always, and for everyone else in the gym. You had a close bond with John as well. You were dearest friends, yet would talk like he was the devil himself behind his back. Another odd bond there I wish I would have seen. You watched me and took videos of me like I was your own. You had an ownership over me, over all of us, under the rug or under the white hospital sheets. I trusted you with my life. My mom, my dad, my grandma, we all trusted you. They trusted you as if they would trust themselves with you. They trusted you with their own life. You guided me spiritually, physically, and took hold of me emotionally. You had us all fooled, that was for sure. You were still Facebook messaging me the day after you got arrested, Thanksgiving time of 16. You were saying how I should pray for you, and you were glad you at least got to be home with your family for the holiday. I still believed you at the time, and I loved you at the time. Loved you. Then the pornography came out, and police found footage on the GoPro. This was not real medical treatment. My world crashed. Everything I had learned, wanted, and dreamed about is changed. Are these things the things that I still want? I thought I wanted to be a doctor. You told me, you showed me everything. You showed me every part, every ligament, every bone, every muscle on my own body. You taught me that. I wanted to be like you, a man of honor and passion. Am I on your GoPro? Because I was one of your closest little friends. I saw you 3 times a week, at least, if it be at the gym on Monday nights, your house, my house in front of my parents, but so hidden in plain sight. My parents feel that they have failed me because of your master manipulation. My mom and dad think that this is their fault. They are suffering so bad, just like I am. And I know that you know I am. This is not their fault. They suffer along with my brothers, my boyfriend, my friends, and myself. Sometimes you would sneak me into the back door at MSU Sports Medicine, invitationals or Holt High School football games where I graduated in 15. You educated our athletic trainers for years and worked on me during the games in the back football room where the boys undressed. There were some Mondays after practice I would be the last one on the list, which I was because Larry so graciously asked me to stay. Sometimes until midnight, because he needed to work on me longer, massage me longer. As another sister survivor said, in and out, in and out. You get the picture. I'm sure everyone else does. A typical Monday night, I was at the gym, 3:30 to 8 p.m. for practice, then another 4 hours of waiting, doing my homework while I was spending more time with the girls at the gym. 25 plus hours wasn't enough, but we loved every minute of it. And lately we're reconnecting stronger and bigger than ever. After our long play dates, we could now call them, you would tape me up and drive me home after an hour or 2 hours long of examinations. I remember you having to shave my pubic hair because you needed to put tape so high and so far up into my vaginal area and my anus. How nice of you, a butt lift and a tape job all in one. Larry Nassar, you sexually, mentally, and physically abused me. Hundreds of times. Without gloves, lubricant, or proper sanitation. Lubricant came naturally, as I'm sure all the adults in this room can imagine. Larry, you had me so wrapped around your finger in a time that I completely was blind to this world. I was young, hadn't quit gymnastics yet, gone to college or cosmetology school, all of which you wrote recommendations for me. What did you expect? Well, you expected exactly what you got. A man your age knows exactly how fragile and gullible a 12-year-old girl is. A mastermind of all kinds. You truly are. Did you really read the whole Bible? Did that get you through your second try at school? You told me you did, and you made fun of me for not knowing exactly what Bible I was reading. That sticks with me. Reading about the Lord and all of His goodness He shares with us even after you failed the first time. I was reading it, wasn't I? Shouldn't you be proud of me? Thanks for now ensuring me the strongest faith I could possibly have at 21 years old. I have a faith that I will survive this and come out stronger than I can imagine standing here today. In a sense, Larry, you stripped me from my virginity, something so extraordinary for me. I was saving it for marriage at the time. As I got older, I started to understand my own body a little bit better. I became self-conscious and anxious. Why was I so self-conscious being a gymnast with a beautiful, strong, healthy body? Because of you, Larry. You. You stripped me from my own skin. From every single part of my body, including the most sacred ones. I feel dirty even after scrubbing my skin raw in the hot shower. By the way, I hope you enjoy the cold ones in prison. You are sick in the head, and I am sick, but I will not be forever. The difference between you and I, Larry, I will heal, and I thank my good Lord every day for that. You have given me this so-called anxiety that I will let randomly strike in the middle of a shopping center or the mall, anywhere. If any sense is triggered, smell, sound, or touch. I take medication now for frequent attacks. I sometimes cannot stand my own boyfriend to touch me in the modest of places such as my arm or my leg. It hurts. It is painful. It's scarring. My body is scarred by you. You, Larry, have touched and massaged every part of my body. You covered me with your illness, and I will be contaminated by you for the rest of my life. I will never forget laying in your basement, naked and alone. Facing your small television with all the stuffed animals around, I kept my eyes tight, squeezed tight. This is where I found a new place in my own mind. Any place but this place. You would always prop up a pillow under my hips for a better angle of my lower half. You lit the fireplace as well to keep my bare bottom warm. How considerate of you. You were always worried about my butt. As another girl said, the cheerleader, that's his famous one. The butthead or something, I don't know. You liked that one. So you have done it, Larry. You have gone the extra mile. May your studies be fulfilled in the end for all this you've done. There's a reason for it somehow, right? You know better than any of us in this room the 12-year-old body better than anyone standing here. You have gotten me down, yes, but I will not stay down. I will rise higher than most, and I will fall. You will fall. You will fall, Larry, into your grave, and I will rise. That's all I have to say.
Ma'am, for someone who was afraid of public speaking, you get an A++.
You're looking at me like you know me.
Ma'am, you have risen. You are taller than you will ever be. Your words echo. That was such a wonderful speech. Your intonation, your comments. I should bring you to law school to help me teach lawyers how to speak like that at closing.
Just because I mean it.
Well, your world has not crashed. His is crashing. I will consider everything that you said as sentencing. That was a masterful, well thought out, well stated speech. You are stronger than you know, and you have healed far much longer, better than you think. You may have those episodes where you break down, but I want you to think about the strength you have here and pull yourself right up, because man, you got it. And you and your sister survivors together are going to keep getting stronger. Those were brave, brave words. I'm so thankful you uttered them here in front of me as I consider sentencing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Your Honor, the next survivor you will hear from is Lindsay Woolever, right? Did I get it? Okay. And she has also decided to be identified publicly. And who's accompanying her?
My sister.
Okay.
She flew in from California.
That's great. So your sister, if you want to stand next to her. All right. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
No, of course. Could you please state and spell your name for the record?
Lindsay, Landsay, Woolever, Woolever.
What would you like me to know?
I first of all just want to thank you for allowing me to come here. I was not going to be here. I get very nervous speaking in public, especially regarding this type of scenario. But I watched a family member and very close cousin of mine do very well on Tuesday, and she has inspired me to also share my story and join her in this fight to make sure we stop future sexual abuse.
Thank you. I think you're all inspiring each other. She may have inspired you, but I know that you are inspiring
She was
others.
amazing.
Thank you.
Now with that being said, I can go ahead and get started. I was a 14-year-old girl with lower back pain and big gymnastics dreams. I felt very lucky when my parents told me I was going to be able to see you, Larry. You were the best doctor for my sport, and I couldn't wait for you to make me feel better. You had agreed to see me at a gymnastics meet because several of my fellow gymnast members had been referred to you by my aunt and also my mother. My mom is a gymnastics coach and has been for 40 plus years. I remember the appointments that would follow at your office at MSU Sports Medicine. And I remember very much the first time and every time that you sexually assaulted me. I remember the time that my father was in the room, and I remember the times that I was alone in the back room at the gymnastics meets that you would graciously accept me to treat me. It sickens me to think back on how many times that you have sexually assaulted me, close members of my family, and so many of these strong women that are here and have been here all week. I was a child, and so were they. Most of us brand new teenagers that will never understand how someone could have ever done that. I'm a mother of two amazing, beautiful little girls, and my job is to protect them from people like you. When I was 18 years old, I had some trouble my freshman year of college with my back still acting up. I saw you from the time I was 14 until then, and at my last treatment, my sister and my father joined me, and we had decided that my back had had enough, and I was no longer going to undergo any treatment. I was going to give up my career as a gymnast. I can't tell you how hard that was, and I can't tell you how many times I went back in the gym just to work out and tumble with the girls. I was very thankful to have that option. But for part of my healing, I need to begin to forgive you. Mr. Nassar, I pray that you realize the lives that you have truly impacted in such a negative way. You are in the best position to help people, but at times you chose to do the exact opposite. Oddly enough, I will eventually find a way to forgive you. I just can't at this time. I will continue to work at this daily for myself to help myself heal. Thankfully, the sport of gymnastics has instilled quite the fighter in me. It is very ironic that the sport that I chose to give up due to my injury is a sport that has instilled this fighter in me to allow me to be here today. I thank you for admitting your wrongdoing so I could start to process truly what happened to me, to allow the healing process to begin. It truly sickens me that so many helped enable you to continue to abuse for so many years. But I applaud you for admitting your wrongdoing. Thank you. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you for being here. You are a strong fighter. You are a strong voice. You are a strong mother. And your voice will help all other children to know this is wrong, to speak up, to tell somebody, and to keep talking, because it's a sad line that has run through here is that people didn't listen.
Yes.
You're going to be an adult, not only who listens, but who teaches your children and other children. Keep talking, listening, saying when something doesn't feel right, look right, act like right. And so you've got this huge network now, and you are a strong survivor and a role model for all those similarly situated in this horrible situation, and not just with this gymnastics, with this defendant, but for all those little girls who get assaulted. And we know there's thousands of them. So thank you so much for coming forward. I know it was reluctantly, but I think bravely and rightfully so.
Yeah.
You're fantastic.
Thank you.
Do you mind if I say a quick word, Your Honor?
You can talk as soon as you state and spell your name for the record.
My name is Tiffany Berra. It's Tiffani Berra, and I'm Lindsay's older sister. And I am a doctor of physical therapy, and I specialize in treating pelvic floor dysfunction. And I would just like to say, as
a clinical specialist in treating pelvic disorders in women and men, I am appalled that you would try to pass what you were doing for what I do. Unlike you, I take my oath very seriously, and I use my techniques and skills to try to help women and give them tools to help themselves heal from any injuries and disorders that they may have going on. You used your powers to abuse little girls, and what you did, myofascial release, I do that every day in my practice, but I would never do something like that without proper patient education, proper consent, gloves if I need to do internal treatment. And as a healthcare provider, I'm ashamed that someone like you was able to get away with this for so long. As an older sister, that role of protection comes up to the surface, and I only wish that I had figured out sooner what had been going on and could have helped protect my sister from you. But I know that her healing will start today and will continue. But with that said, I want you to understand you changed the dynamics of our family for years. We went through a lot trying to figure out, what happened to this happy, fun-loving, humorous girl. And now we know. And she is so strong. And like she said, we thank you for admitting your wrongdoings. And from this day forward, I know she will be working on forgiveness, and we will as a family, so that we can start to heal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Could have, would have, should have, doesn't have a place here. It is everybody's regret. The problem is when you have someone who is hiding it so well, you didn't know. And I know that with those supportive words and the love that I see here, you would have done something immediately, but you have to know something in order to act. And I also appreciate your words. They help not only women, but I think the medical field has taken a hit here. When you have hundreds of victims who say, I'm not going to be treated, that's sad, because people do need a safe place to be treated, and they do need treatment of all kinds, but not like this, not illegal treatment. And I will consider what you had to say, and I appreciate your words on behalf of your sister. You're so supportive and loving, but also on behalf of all of the survivors and the medical community, because I don't know what we're going to do if we can't trust people who are supposed to help us in thriving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your Honor, the next survivor is Hannah Morrow. She is 17 years old, and she is accompanied by her mother, and I believe they are comfortable with being publicly identified, obviously, after discussing that with you.
All right, thank you. You're the mom?
Yes.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide to the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and the penalty of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Put your hand down. Could you state and spell your name for the record?
Kathleen Morrow, Kathleen, Morrow, Morrow.
And you are the mother of this wonderful woman?
Yes, ma'am.
And she's 17?
Yes, ma'am.
And you and she have discussed that she will be talking about something very personal and private in front of the world?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're comfortable with her doing that?
Yes, ma'am.
And you believe she's mature enough to handle it?
Yes, ma'am.
And no one has forced, threatened, or coerced you or promised you anything to allow her to speak?
No.
Is that correct? No one's paid you anything for her
No.
to speak? All right. Then you can be right there as her support person. I'm going to allow her to speak. Ma'am, please state and spell your name for the record, and then you may proceed.
My name is Hannah Morrow. It's HANNAHMORROW.
All right, thank you. You can just relax just like that and keep that nice loud voice up. We want to hear it. And just go at a pace that we can understand you, all right?
All right. Your Honor, I want to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak and share today. I want to thank my family. They've been super supportive with me, and my boyfriend for loving me unconditionally and supporting me through a really tough time in my life. My coaches, my teammates, the freshmen that I teach in advisory who listened to my story yesterday, and my supportive teachers and everything. And I want to start off by reading a poem that I wrote during my junior year of high school, and I feel blessed that I get the opportunity to read this poem directly to the face of the person that inspired it, and that's you, Larry. This piece is called The Monster. He appeared to be a wise man, but he made despicable decisions, putting his reputation at risk, all for a revolting addiction. Fracturing childhoods of hundreds makes him deserve conviction. Because of him, I cannot be touched without a panic being driven. The monster could have had it all with his lovely wife and children. Doctor, father, husband. But now he's off to prison. I hope you enjoyed that, and I have found that writing is a brilliant way to cope with all of the vile things that you have done to me, Larry. I won't get into speaking exactly what these things are because you already know what you did to me. During the 4 to 5 years that you practiced on me, including when I was 11 years old. However, I would like to tell you that I have taken all of the pain and hurt that you have caused me, and I will turn it into good. I have contacted my principal and talked to some teachers about inserting sexual assault awareness into my school's curriculum somehow, so that I might be able to prevent a monster like you from destroying others. I will be out in the real world, thriving, empowering, and standing by others, while you rot in a prison cell the rest of your life. I don't know why God put me through this, but I assure you I will stand by the other survivors and use my trauma to help others. By the way, I don't need your sorry excuse for a treatment to succeed in gymnastics the way you made it seem like I did. I started out my season well this year. I am determined to finish it better than it started. And then I will drive myself towards a successful career in gymnastics at the college of my dreams. Life handed me lemons, and you best believe that I am well prepared to make some lemonade. You cannot break me, Larry. I am a survivor. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. That was some sweet lemonade. You are amazing. I absolutely love that you have made suggestions already with your high school, because it starts with one school, just like it started with one voice, Rachel's voice, to get all of these voices here. You're a woman of action, of power, of change. You are not defeated. Don't ever feel that way. I believe we may very well see you at the Olympics. I'm going to watch. I don't watch sports, but I'm going to watch all of you. Okay, because I think that this is just tremendous in your feeling. You've empowered yourself. You've empowered so many other women to speak out. You're a survivor, a strong one. You're exemplary. And I will consider what you said in sentencing, and I appreciate your poem. You've just been published. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm bringing back to the podium a familiar face, but and I think everyone's happy to see her, most everybody. But the next survivor is Bailey Pickle, and she is comfortable with being publicly identified, and I have displayed her photograph at the age of the abuse, and she is accompanied by her friend and support person, Lindsay Lemke.
Thank you so much for being up here again, and thank you for being here. Please state and spell your name for the record.
Bailey Pickle, Bayle Pickel.
Better.
I'm sure.
Yes, you are. I know you have some big words. You might be short, but I know there's big words in there. What would you like me to know?
Sounds good. First off, thank you for having us all. Means a lot. I'd like to start off by saying, Larry, you say that your life has changed and that you're sorry for your actions. But what you're failing to realize is how your actions have affected us. You could sit there and ask for pity from everything you did, but nobody's going to sit there and give it to you. I hope hearing all the victims inside ruins you. You better sit up straight, listen to what I have to say, and act like you're somewhat remorse for your actions. It's hard to even know where to start. I can start with trust. I trusted you, Larry. I trusted you as an adult figure, a mentor, and someone who had good morals, especially someone coming from a medical background. I was taught that doctors help people, heal people, guide people, and are people that you can always trust. You ruined many things for me that I can never forgive you for. I trusted you with everything I told you, and you took it to advantage because of my age, and you used my body against me. A sorry could never fix the way that you've made me feel. The nights I've had such bad anxiety that I would have panic attacks, or the amount of times that I've been around men and felt like one of them was going to harm me. I shouldn't have to feel anxious around men because of one man's horrific choices. I can't even sit in a room with men and feel normal. I can't stand in an elevator with men and trust that one of them won't try and harm me. I shouldn't have to feel anxious around men because of you. I was brainwashed by the pictures you had in your office. You had pictures of athletes from all over, thanking you for being their doctor and healing them. Little did I know there was a picture. All those pictures were just as much of a joke as you are. I started frequently seeing you when I was 12 years old. 12 years old. We had built a relationship. My own mom had trusted you and had known you since she was a little girl. After knowing my own mother, being there during all of the hardships, and being around you since she was a little girl, I don't know how you could do something like that. How could you do something so horrible to an innocent young girl? You manipulated me into thinking you were a good guy and that I could vent to you and let you heal me. You spent hours with me at least 2 to 3 times weekly. You came to Twistars after my 2-a-day practices because you told me you were willing to do anything to help me not be in pain. Shame on John for not protecting us inside of our own gym, our home, and not giving us more supervision and checking on us to see what procedures and treatments you were actually giving us. Shame on John for still allowing us to see you outside of the gym when he even banned you from coming into our gym. You and John clearly had a reputation that didn't set boundaries, and he stood up for you. You saying sorry doesn't make up for everything you took away from me, my family, and all the other girls you assaulted. You have ruined a part of me that I'm afraid I'm never going to gain back. To John Getter, you were there for me through the bad and the good. But what you did to me is always going to outweigh all the good moments. On numerous occasions you shouted terrible things at me, belittled me, hurt me, and ruined me as well. To the sport I once loved, I started to hate. When I tore my Achilles during a meet, you told me to stop being a fucking baby. You then proceeded to tell me to stop limping and to continue competing no matter what the pain was. You then screamed at me and threw ice at me in front of all of the coaches. Another time when I broke my knee inside of the gym, tore my hamstring, broke my tibia and fibula all in the same time, you sat there and you screamed at me and you called me a baby. You told me to get up and walk when my knee was broken. Growing up without a father figure, you were the closest thing that I had. And you didn't even allow me to stand up for myself because you belittled me to the point where I had no voice. I hope you know all of the pain, abusive words, and your actions have hurt me and still manage to hurt me to this day. I still have never felt good enough because you make me feel weak and useless for so long. You allowed me to stay at your home every Monday night and Wednesday night so my mom didn't have to drive back after 8 o'clock practice at night all the way to Grand Rapids and back again in the morning at 7 a.m. for 2-a-day practices. My mom, being one of your friends who you also coached, trusted you to have my best interest at heart. But to this day, I still don't think you cared enough to have my best interest at heart. If you cared, you would have banned us from seeing Larry when you no longer allowed him to come inside of Twistars. If there were accusations against him that were that bad where you banned him from our own gym, you would have stopped us from seeing him outside of the gym. This to me makes it seem like you cared more about your reputation than you did to your own gymnast. To MSU, I was treated in your facilities where at times I was snuck in through the back doors of the athletic office because Larry did not want people to know that my insurance didn't cover. But in reality, maybe it was just off the record so that you could hurt me. You, as a recognized school in the Big Ten, have yet to make us victims feel okay. As for USAG, you are the foundation of gymnastics. You, out of everyone, are supposed to be protecting all of us victims. Let me just say this. I am the victim. I was sexually assaulted, and you have no right to play victim and run away from these problems. You are timid, and you need to face this reality. You failed to protect your athletes, and you need to take responsibility for what you have failed to do. From here on out, you will no longer interfere with my life, Larry. I will not let you take one more tear away from me. My thoughts go out to my friends and anyone else who was affected by your disgusting behavior. I will move forward one day, and I hope that day starts now. As for my mom, I hope she can stop blaming herself for a monster's mistake and start healing as well. You, Larry, have made my mom's life miserable too when she looked at you as a friend. Mom, I love you, and you are not to blame because of Larry's sick mind. But you and me will get together. We'll get through this together. I also have a post that I wanted to share just that my mom shared on Facebook last night. My daughter is not broken, but I feel as if I may be. Words cannot express the pain and hurt we suffer as parents for not being able to protect our most precious assets, our children. I spent the last 6 months trying to work through my own feelings of failure while I support my daughter face to face with her sexual abuse at the hands of someone who was a trusted friend. I first met Larry when I was 12 years old. Like everyone else, I thought he had my daughter's best interest at heart. While I never faced the horror these women suffered, I am forced to confront my own failure as a mom. But I refuse to stop trying to move forward. We will heal. We will seek and have our justice. Those who were in position to stop the abuse before Bailey was even born will face the consequences of their silence. My daughter is strong, and for her I am strong too. This is my final statement to all the mothers and fathers out there who feel like they could have stopped this. You are not responsible. I hope as well as myself and the other victims, you too can heal from this. We will stand together. My mom has put the blame on herself for this past year, and I want her to be able to heal as well. Not only do we support you, Mom, they support me. To all the moms, you did not fail us. Larry did. Larry, you will never sexually assault me again, or anyone else for that matter. Have fun in prison for the rest of your life, where you'll have no friends, your family won't be by you, and you'll be stuck behind bars for hopefully the rest of your life. John Gettert, MSU, and USAG, you are responsible for destroying the lives of innocent girls by the lack of your protection, so you now Think of this every waking moment of your life. Eventually, you will be held accountable for your actions, and they will be brought up against you.
That was outstanding. You and your mother. Would you like to place your mother's name on the record or not?
Sure.
What is that?
Jennifer, Jennifer. New last name, Swanlund, Swanlund.
Thank you. I think today you and your mother, through both of your voices and all the voices of the survivors, have moved forward. I hope you feel that way. I hope that you leave here with wings instead of the weights that you walked up to the podium with. You should be very proud for speaking up. Your strong voice is making changes. You found your voice. You have a voice. You didn't have a voice when you were a kid, but you have found it. And you weren't expected to have a voice as a child. People should have protected you. You should have been in a safe environment with a doctor. And your mother didn't know. I know she would have protected you like all the other mothers. The guilt lies solely with the defendant who's pled to it. You're not just good. You are great. You are fantastic. You are a role model. All of you are strong survivors, superwomen who are just going to turn the world around on this issue, one voice at a time. And banded together, you are unstoppable. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We're going to take this. We're going to take 15 minutes, thank you. And we will be here at probably another hour. All right?